Hey, what's up, guys? It's FME here, and today I'm going to be talking about Game of Thrones right now. I'm going to weigh in on the controversy, and I'm going to share with you my tinfoil-hatted conspiracy theory. I'm a champion! An apt question is why was Episode 3 of Game of Thrones done the way it was? There have been a lot of comparisons to The Last Jedi. In fact, a lot of people have been saying how Game of Thrones, the last season, is Last Jedi'd itself. And I can't help but notice these kind of similarities that caused me to have this conspiracy theory. I believe that, of course, it was intentional, because I don't let Dumb and Dumber off the hook and say that they're just bad writers. No. This is too organized. There would have been so many people that would have mentioned this to them. I think even what's her name? The Maisie Williams had mentioned that people were treating her differently. There was obviously, it had an effect on the rest of the cast. And by the way, in that article, I'm going to run the clip real quick. I'm just going to run the clip.
Speaking to Entertainment Weekly, Maisie Williams explained that she didn't know it was her character Arya Stark who was going to kill the Night King until the table read. Also, because she was in the dark about it until then, everyone acted weird toward her. However, when she finally read it for the first time, she was conflicted. It was so unbelievably exciting, Williams told Entertainment Weekly, but I immediately thought that everybody would hate it, that Arya doesn't deserve it. The hardest thing in any series is when you build up a villain that's so impossible to defeat, and then you defeat them. It has to be intelligently done, because otherwise people are like, well, the villain couldn't have been that bad when some 45-kilogram girl comes in and stabs him. You gotta make it cool. And then I told my boyfriend and he was like, should be Jon though, really, shouldn't it?
So that clip, of course, was from Mahler, if you didn't recognize the voice. Really great. Relevant links and links to his channel will be in the description. So the reason why I included that is I just have to say, Maisie Williams' testimony, it really pissed me off, because she was hiding behind a big, strong, independent female hiding behind her boyfriend. And my boyfriend was like, should have been Jon. It's like, why would you include that? Your boyfriend doesn't have credibility, Maisie Williams. Not like you do. He doesn't act on the show. Or maybe he does. I don't know. But she just said my boyfriend Jon, which sounded the epitome of anonymous. Jon, what's his last name? Doe? Anyway, that's my point. I was really bothered that she was hiding behind her boyfriend. It's like, no, work up the stone, Slay Queen, and say that you think or you believe that Jon should have taken out the Night King, as it should have been. Now, with that being said, everybody out there has been repeating this sentiment that I don't have a problem with Arya taking out the Night King. I do. And I'm just really bothered. Like, why is everyone saying that? And I'm not saying that I'm not trying to rob anybody of their opinion. I'm not trying to say that they're what's the word, that they don't have any conviction, or they don't believe in what they're saying when they say that they're fine with it. I'm just saying it bothers me, because my absolute opinion and belief is that it should have been Jon. That's what it was building up to. It had nothing to do with Arya. The Night King had literally nothing to do with Arya. He wasn't a target. In fact, his prime target, of course, was Bran. But who basically had more run-ins, it seems, with the Whites and with the White Walkers? Well, it was Jon and his crew. I would say, I want to say Jon first and Bran second. But then again, he felt the sting when, he was working animals near him, near the Night King. But in any case, moving on from that, I once again, I believe that this is, of course, deliberate. This is not a product. I believe this is not a product of bad writing. Dumb and Dumber did this on purpose. Why? And the question to ask is, obviously, yes, they did it on purpose, but why did they do it? They either did it to because they were meant to bend the knee and pay some type of tribute, I believe, to Rian Johnson. Or J.J. Abrams, or that entire camp. So it's going to be Abrams, Johnson, and Kathleen Kennedy, right? So to get in with their camp so that Dumb and Dumber could get their franchise, they were either meant to bend the knee, make tribute, or they did it voluntarily to make some sort of display to get in good with them to get their franchise. But I believe it was most likely Rian Johnson because of that little tweet. Like, he would give you just enough to mock you as a fan. But, think about it along these lines. They're sitting down and they're trying to hammer together a contract and work out different things about how they're going to get their franchise. And Rian Johnson or whoever it was basically starts saying, you got to get ready to be hated, because I don't believe for a second that they're going to do a Star Wars movie that's going to do anything justice. If you think along those lines, why would Rian Johnson or J.J. Abrams allow someone to come up and do Star Wars right? That would completely upstage them. And these people are petty and egotistical enough to make sure that wouldn't happen. They don't want that happening. That's my firm belief right there. So, thusly, so as they're hammering things out, they're like, hey, you got to get ready for the fans to hate you. So maybe this was prep work, but I maintain, one, that it was done on purpose. Number two, we can see that, and we can follow that premise, and there's a good degree of evidence, I feel, with the blade / lightsaber drop. I said to myself instantaneously that Rey did that. That's a total Rey move. And then that ridiculous scream. I think Rey even screamed in that fight scene in Snoke's throne room. I know that's unrelated, but I was like, okay, she had to be on a trampoline and a wire to do that. Where did she get the height and the distance to do that in the first place? To clarify that, I mean to say this: how did the character do it? How did the character just leap several feet in the air to basically do a Superman flying stab attack? Like, how did the character do that? It was asinine and it was ridiculous. Also, everybody's using the term, especially in given the episodes past that, subverting expectations, and that's a total Rian Johnson thing. It's got so many elements of The Last Jedi. There's the Rian Johnson snarky tweet. And then we have the Night King, who is now the de facto Snoke of the series, in that he's dead. He was supposed to be ultra powerful. He was killed by someone who he was proven to be more powerful than, and we know and never will know anything about the Night King. I went through a lot of analysis, and I know that my evidence seems loosely associated, if not completely sparse, to the point of maybe not even having a premise, but I always follow my gut, and the idea popped into my head, and I ignored it, or I didn't ignore it, but I just kind of said, nah, maybe not, maybe yes, maybe not, and it kept coming back up, and the evidence started to mount when I was looking at everybody else's reviews. So the fact that all of the characters are doing everything that is literally, not to make the word redundant, uncharacteristic to their lore, to their backstories, I believe that this was the fruit from the poisonous tree. They made sure that these last bites of this season are the most dissatisfying. I believe that this is Rian Johnson getting revenge, because he hasn't had. If you thought if revenge was his agenda, has he had a proper one before now? Let's lock it in. Let's say that say that yes, he did this to get back at everybody. And had he had a revenge this sweet before? Watching Rome burn? No. It was no. If this was his way of getting back at the Star Wars fans through the Game of Thrones fans, who a lot of them are Star Wars fans, I don't want, and the only reason I would dismiss that almost automatically is that I wouldn't want to give this guy too much credit. But you never underestimate the lengths a petty person's willing to go through to get back at somebody. They have the motivation, and they have plenty of people under them that are like, Rian Johnson has plenty of people under him that are smart, that are competent, and who could get things done for him. So I really believe, given the evidence presented, that this was Rian Johnson trying to get revenge. And my last bit of evidence is this, if I didn't mention it already. The Last Jedi was episode 8. We are in the last season of Game of Thrones, which is the 8th season. If you wanted revenge that was both precisioned and also kind of ironic, this would be the perfect time. Last Jedi, episode 8, last season of Game of Thrones, season 8. So there's my tinfoil-headed conspiracy theory, guys. I hope you liked it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.